Cartoon Obsession. Hello everybody, my name is Nathan, and I am the man with a cartoon obsession. We're quickly approaching the end of the year and the end of the decade, and I already counted down my top 10 anime of the decade, so it's time to do the same thing for cartoons. Same deal with the anime list. If I haven't seen a certain cartoon from this decade, it's obviously not eligible for the list. In addition to that, if you don't see something on the list, there's also a chance that I either didn't like it, or that it just didn't make the cut. However, without any further ado, let's count down my top 10 favorite cartoons of the 2010s. Number 10. Harvey Beaks. It's disappointing to me that Nickelodeon never really seemed to give Harvey Beaks a chance to succeed. It didn't get a lot of push, and it got bumped to Nicktoons for its second and final season. That being said, I absolutely adore this show. It's so charming and whimsical, and it's very character-driven. All of these kids and their parents have different personalities, and I feel like there's a character in this show that anyone can relate to. I'm also a fan of C.H. Greenblatt's style. I really enjoyed what he did with Chowder, or at least a good portion of the series, but I think he really outdid himself with Harvey Beaks. It's just a nice little feel-good show with a lot of unique characters and a lot of fun adventures. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you do so.
Go, princess! Woo!
I'm okay!
Number 9. Ruby. Now I already know what you're going to say. Ruby's not a cartoon, it's an anime. Well, I will agree that it has an anime style, but the actual definition of anime is an animated work that is created in Japan, which Ruby was not, so for all intents and purposes, I'm considering it a cartoon. Regardless of what you consider it though, I still love this show. I'm not too big into Rooster Teeth outside of this and maybe Genlock, but Ruby is something special. It started out looking a little rough around the edges, but the farther it goes, the better it looks. I will say it does have some lulls throughout its run thus far, but this is another show that has a lot of great characters and quite a bit of development for them too, not to mention the awesome fight scenes and the great music as well. Even though the creator Monty Oum unfortunately passed away a few years ago, I'm glad to see that the show hasn't drastically decreased in quality. It's been mostly consistent, and I can't wait to see how it goes moving forward.
Sup?
How did you even get up here?
I have my ways. Seriously though, can I come in? We're like really high up right now.
Number 8. Bravest Warriors. I've heard people describe Bravest Warriors as Adventure Time meets Rick and Morty, and I can't say I disagree with that, but Bravest Warriors is its own thing without a doubt. I had a feeling this was going to be a fun show, but I didn't think I would be hooked on it like I was, and still am, even though there's currently no news on a 5th season. Regardless, there's so much charm in this series. I love the character designs, the sci-fi elements are cool and interesting, and there's a lot of humor, both of the high and lowbrow variety, so I feel like it can appeal to a wide variety of people. Not to mention, this show is responsible for Catbug, and you can't hate Catbug.
Sugar Pea!
Drop him!
Okay!
Number 7. We Bare Bears. I have no idea why I was so excited for We Bare Bears when I first learned about it, but I immediately fell in love with the show. Well, mainly Ice Bear because he is my spirit animal, but the entire show is enjoyable. It's a neat idea having these 3 bears, who are brothers, live amongst the world like regular people, and there are a lot of interesting side characters, both human and animal. It's mainly a comedic slice of life type show, but there are also plenty of moments that are either too precious for this world or manage to tug at your heartstrings. It seems like the main series is over, but Cartoon Network did announce both a We Bare Bears movie, which I will watch, and a spin-off series that shows the bears as cubs, which is not a new concept because there are several episodes that show that anyway, but I'll give it a shot. Whether you're interested in those things or not though, I highly recommend watching at least a few episodes of We Bare Bears.
Ice Bear's tired of staring at this guy's butt.
Number 6. The Loud House. As someone who has a lot of siblings, this show really speaks to me. Of course, some of the age gaps are rather large, and I've never lived with all of them in the same house, but still, I do understand the chaos of having a big family, and things certainly do get chaotic in the Loud House. Lincoln is the middle child and the only boy living amongst 10 sisters, and of course their parents and pets. Each member of the Loud family has their own personality, so they all stand out, and the show never really tries to lump them all together. Sure, there are some episodes that feature all of the siblings, but they each feel like they serve their own purpose, and it makes for some good comedy and feel-good family moments. The show also spawned a spin-off called The Casa Grandes, but I'm not interested in watching it because it's really the same exact concept as The Loud House, and I personally don't think that family is as interesting as The Louds. But regardless, The Loud House is a quality piece of work. Number 5. The Looney Tunes Show. Looney Tunes has always been known for its use of slapstick comedy, which is one of the things that made it such an iconic cartoon. They've tried changing the formula a bit in its spin-offs. Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries was more of a mystery show and it didn't really offer much slapstick. Baby Looney Tunes showed the characters as kids, and while I personally enjoyed the show as a kid, I will say it didn't really hold up, and again, little to no slapstick to be found. And as for Lunatics Unleashed, well, I can at least say that I appreciate what they were trying to do by making an action-style Looney Tunes cartoon, but it wasn't executed all that well. The Looney Tunes show, however, also straying from the path, taking more of a sitcom route, does things right. It shows Bugs and Daffy as roommates, and just living everyday lives, and of course all the other Looney Tunes characters are here as well, working regular jobs and acting like regular people. The weird part about it is the fact that it actually works, and it works well. This show is hilarious, and even though the characters are living like normal people, they still feel like the characters they were in the original Looney Tunes. Except maybe Taz, but even he's not that different. Plus, I also like the references they make toward the original show. There have been plenty of Looney Tunes spin-offs, but I honestly think this one might be the best. Sorry, Duck Dodgers.
Are you a complete nitwit? No, I'm a dunderhead. At least according to this internet IQ test.
Number 4. DuckTales 2017. It may be because I didn't grow up with it, but I was never a big fan of the original DuckTales. I used to watch reruns on Toon Disney when I was a kid, and I liked it fine, but it didn't do a whole lot for me, and I'm usually skeptical and cautious when it comes to reboots, but I think the DuckTales reboot is the best reboot we've gotten thus far. Obviously, the show is more modernized now, but they also flesh out the characters more, and the adventures feel more exciting. They also throw in references to things like Darkwing Duck. There's actually an entire episode involving Darkwing Duck, and it's fantastic. There's a lot of drama, comedy, and just all-around fun with the DuckTales reboot. I think this show does a great job at catering to both fans of the original and people who either weren't too keen on the original or maybe never even saw it. This is how you do a reboot correctly. Take notes, everyone.
Hey, remember when you insisted you could juggle the eggs? And you dropped one!
Number 3. The Amazing World of Gumball. You know, a good amount of shows tend to drop in quality the longer they go on. The Amazing World of Gumball is an exception to this, as it seems to get better with each passing season, and it already started fairly strong. Gumball has a lot going for it. An entire cast of interesting, likable, and colorful characters, an interesting blend of art and animation styles, and the biggest prop I have to give the show is its writing. This is, without a doubt, one of the smartest written cartoons I've ever seen. The humor is so clever, and there are plenty of jokes and references that appeal to both children and adults. Not to mention, there are also plenty of moments that might make you scratch your head in confusion the first time you see it. Cartoon Network pushes a lot of shows to the back burner, whether it be not airing new episodes for months or even a year at a time, or not even showing reruns during those gaps. But it's nice to see that they haven't really done that with Gumball. There's a whole lot to appreciate about this show.
Tastes like my bath water.
You need to stop eating things that aren't food, and also eat less food.
Number 2. Regular Show. When Regular Show first premiered, its tagline was, "It's anything but." And that is true, because there are a lot of supernatural and sometimes sci-fi elements to the series, which always makes things more interesting. For a while, I thought it made the show a bit formulaic and predictable, but the more I watched it, the more I loved it. Not to mention, the older I get, the more I feel like I can relate to Mordecai and Rigby. Fun fact, Mordecai and Rigby are 23 years old at the start of the series, and I'm 23 right now. And this show, at its core, is about them adjusting to adulthood, and they still have a lot of maturing to do. and they do mature a lot throughout the series, especially Rigby, but I don't want to say too much about that. One more thing I like about Regular Show is its use of licensed music. Mainly songs from the 80s, but I always love watching the montages that they put together with these songs. It adds a lot more feeling to the series in my opinion. If you haven't seen Regular Show yet, now is a great time to watch it since J.G. Quintel is set to release a new series called Close Enough, and I really wish we'd hear more information about that. In the meantime though, Regular Show still has a lot to offer.
Okay, dude, I think that's good.
What?
Before we get to my number one pick, let's take a quick look at some honorable mentions. Big City Greens. I didn't think much of Big City Greens at first, but it's really been growing on me. This is just a nice, funny, and even relaxing family-centered cartoon. I consider this one a sleeper hit. OKKO, Let's Be Heroes. It feels like OKKO ended as soon as it started, but there sure was a lot packed into this show's brief run. It's a cool take on the superhero genre, and it's very fast-paced and frantic, which is sometimes a bit jarring along with the art style, but there's still a lot of fun to be had with this show. Gravity Falls. I have a confession to make. I actually just recently got into Gravity Falls. I really like the mystery aspect of it, and the humor as well, but I feel like all the hype I heard about it is what kept me away from the series. I will say that it's mostly deserved though. Steven Universe. I don't know what it is, but I just can't fall in love with Steven Universe. Don't get me wrong, I like it quite a bit. They do a lot of great and bold things with the character types and relationships, but something's just not clicking with me. I think I need to give it a second chance down the road. Rick and Morty. This is another case of the hype killing it for me. Again, I do like Rick and Morty. There's a lot of witty humor, and that cool sci-fi aspect to the show is good too, but I just can't appreciate Rick and Morty the same way the masses seem to. It's still fun to watch every now and then though. Now that I got those out of the way, let's move on to my top cartoon of the 2010s. Number 1. Adventure Time. I know a lot of people might consider this a basic pick, but let me tell you a little bit about my relationship with this show. When it first premiered, I knew a lot of people who were really into it, and I was closed-minded, so I didn't want to give it a chance. But I decided to eventually, and I liked what I saw. After a while though, I just completely lost interest in it, and I'm not even sure why. But later on I gave it a second chance, and I never looked back. Guys, Adventure Time is the definition of art. What seems like a harmless kid's show at first actually shows a lot of dark themes and undertones the deeper you get into the series, and when the story really starts, it pulls you right in, and you want to see it through until the end. They introduce a lot of characters and a lot of plot points throughout the show, and they just keep expanding on everything and overlapping parts of the story until it all comes together at the end. When the series finale aired, I watched it twice in a row just to make sure I understood everything. This show can get a bit confusing at times, but that doesn't hinder my enjoyment of it. I love the art style, especially when they change it up in a few episodes. I love the characters, I love the relationships, I love the story, I love the lore. I love everything about Adventure Time. My heart was shattered when it ended, but it's like the theme song says, the fun will never end. And that's why Adventure Time is my favorite cartoon of the decade.
Club, club, and stick, club, club, and smoke. Oh, hey, you got the fire going, right on.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If there's a cartoon from this past decade that you didn't see on this list, feel free to comment your favorites down below. And also feel free to leave suggestions for videos you would like to see in 2020. I can't promise that I'll get to everything, but I'll cover as much as I can, because at the end of the day, it's not my channel, it's our channel. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and feel free to check out my social media pages, audition for an outro, and join the official Cartoon Obsession Discord. The links for all of which are in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
I'm Connie, and thank you for watching Cartoon Obsession.